Okay. You are listening to Adam Fupa Media in Paris. And I have here with me a handsome gentleman. Akwanuma, the song behind is called Akwanuma. I don't know how to translate Akwanuma into English, but Anuma is bird. Akwanuma, if my time is due, then I'm gone. That I can translate. But Akwanuma, forget about it. Okay, good evening, Mr. Gentleman.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm great, and you?
Doing super awesome.
All right.
Welcome to Personality Profile.
All right, thank you so much.
I would have loved to mention your name, but I would prefer you do it by yourself.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Darko, and I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you for coming over, Darko. So, who is Darko? Like, we want to know about you. Who is Darko?
All right. Okay. So, Ivan is a humble guy, and
I think basically,
I'm sure. So I'll give you a bit about my political profile and educational background. So, with a political, I'm the NDC France chairman, the first branch chairman in NDC. Mm-hmm. With my education, currently I'm a PhD student in finance, University of Rennes, France.
Okay.
Yeah.
But why did you decide to do your PhD in France and not back home?
Oh wow, yeah. Actually, I love France as a country. I love the country, and then I love the French language. And this comes on the background of when you look at the Ghana borders, you know that we are surrounded by francophone countries.
Exactly.
So I thought it was a good idea that I also get knowledge about the second biggest language in the world, I think.
Sure.
So France, that's why I chose France, and so basically that's the reason. Yeah.
I was thinking maybe it's because you will spend like 10 years to complete your PhD in Ghana, because in Ghana, when you're doing your masters, instead of 2 years, it can take you up to 4 years before you complete. So you needed to escape that. That's why you decided to school in France.
No, basically not that, but like I said, you see, I would like to take advantage of the multilingual aspect of being bilingual. So and basically another point is that I had my masters also in France.
Oh, okay.
It was also in finance.
That's nice.
So basically, I have a background in economics. I did my bachelor in economics and masters in finance.
Donc, tu parles bien français, j'espère.
Oui, puis c'est pas, je parle un petit peu, mais
okay.
Je comprends bien, mais je parle un petit peu comme ça. Oui.
Okay. So as we are talking about, we have Evans with us. He's the NDC chairman in France. So he's not a small boy. He's a big man.
Thank you.
Evans, so quickly, you just gave us your background. So you are doing your PhD in finance.
Yeah.
And what is the next step after your PhD?
Good point. I think we need to go back to the state.
You want to go back to Ghana?
We need to give back to the state.
You and who?
I think, for me, it's paramount that we, the diasporans, especially we, the youths, we have to be part of the nation building.
But do you think the leaders, our current leaders, are open to suggestions?
I will answer yes and no. Yes, in the perspective that, let's say a decade ago, for me, I don't see a green light to this question in terms of yes, but now I see the couple of improvement from a couple of states in the African state and our country.
No, let's limit ourselves to Ghana.
Yes. So I was about to talk about Ghana. So Ghana, I think what is happening now, though the participation of the youth in the governance of the country is very low, but we must also acknowledge the fact that at least you could see a couple of youth also engaging in politics. So I think gradually there is a way for the youth also to, and for me, I also believe that, yes, if the future of Ghana and Africa is about the human capital of the current generation, then of course, automatically there should be a way for us so that back to what I was trying to say. If I say we need to give back to the state, what I mean is that whatever experience, skills, knowledge we got overseas, I think we also need to support the system with this kind of experience and knowledge.
I have personally spoken to people who came to overseas, they studied, went back to Ghana, tried to introduce what they've learned overseas to our motherland, and our own people from there tried to kill that image or try to kill those ideas that the person brought. I spoke to one man who returned from UK. He spent most of his life in UK, came to Ghana, saw that there were not enough jobs, established a car parts company where he imports cars and sells those car parts. And unfortunately for him, the people he employed so that they could earn some living at the end of the month, those people ended up stealing from this man. So this leads me to my next question. Do you think, mindset wise, okay, the youth are ready to enter into like pure politics without the notion of going in for the monies or going in just to become wealthy? Because now one of the smartest ways to become rich is to enter into political party. Yes or yes?
I'll answer this question affirmative because look, I agree with you that sometimes there are a couple of challenges and dishonesty on the part of some of the youth back home that we wish or we want to help, understand.
Mhm.
However, I don't think this to impede in our effort or our quest to make sure we make changes in the system, in the aspect or perspective of the youth side, you understand. Yes, of course, there will be challenges, you understand, but if we decide to see because of one or two challenges, we are not making a move or a headway to make sure we change the system to our benefit into the unborn generation.
But my question is, do you think that the youth, like mindset wise, are ready to go into politics without expecting anything, as into for them to see it as a get rich scheme? So anybody who is going into politics now is as a result of he or she becoming rich at the end of the day, but not necessarily to help those citizenry. Do you think, like mindset wise, the youths in Ghana like have that mindset of changing the lives of people, but not to go in for the money? Recently, KNUST, we heard a news where the SRC president,
Yeah.
they decided to go to an educational trip in South Africa,
Yeah.
and the team went. He didn't go. When the team returned, he went to meet them at the airport, Kotoka, took pictures with them, pretending that he went for the trip. But people were asking questions like, is this guy sure that he went for the trip? And when they did an investigation, they realized that this man didn't go for the trip, but he rather took the money, went somewhere to enjoy himself. So that's why I'm asking, do you think the youth of today, because you are also the NC
Youth.
chairman,
Yeah.
and you are a youth,
Yeah.
do you think the youth of today understand that politics is supposed to help change the lives of the citizenry, but not for them to see it as a get rich scheme?
You see, I think this particular question is a tough one because I don't want us to generalize the entire system with few, examples in terms of the mentality. Why? Because the system itself is a component or a factor that should come on board to nurture the youth. Why we should take a leading role, but a leading role that come forth to change the system for our benefit, but not the risk scheme as we are talking about. So yes, of course, sometimes it happens this way, but for me, I think we don't always have to focus on the challenge, but however, on the solution. So for me, I think it becomes a shared responsibility for for us all, and also our current leaders. Because yes, I understand that, you see, sometimes people's mentality thinks, oh, okay, politicians are coming to office, to enrich themselves. But I don't think we can sit here and say that all politicians are coming on board to enrich themselves.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, we can talk about 9.5 getting into politics to become rich.
You see, when I sit here to admit that, then I think we are not basing our analysis on, maybe a feasible study. Understand?
Are you talking about feasible study?
Yeah.
We can talk about our current government now. See what is happening. Our current president is very, very rich, but he just keeps misusing the monies of Ghanaians.
You see, and I thank you for bringing this in. Let me chip in this. You see, this president we've had for the past 6 years, I would say that he had taken the trajectory of a political, no confidence into a high level. The perception that people or the citizens were having about politicians had increased astronomically because of this president. And then, if I may say this, then it's less than a week whereby the wife of the president, she was in the US trying to buy, I think, a handbag for $30,000.
But that's if the woman decides to buy a handbag for $3,000.
$30,000.
We can't say she can't do that. It's her own money, and besides, we don't have any proof of her using the state's money to buy that bag. But I am talking about misusing government money in the sense that Ghana, in our current stage, we are suffering financially. But here is the case: the president will hire a private jet, and he was going to pay about 20,000 euros per hour, or I stand to be corrected on this thing. That's why I'm saying, like, he's misusing the Ghanaian people's money. So if the wife decides to buy a bag for $30,000, do you have proof or anything whatsoever to prove that it's the state's money that she's using?
You see, that is the problem we have as a country. Because I don't see a big difference between the president and the wife.
Is the wife unemployed?
She's being catered for the state.
So she has money. The state takes care of her, so she
and then
has money.
You did mention the current the financial challenges that people are going through. And then if
don't.
No, I'll come back to the president's point of trying to waste. It's a total wastage of our resources there.
So what I want you to get is that the fact that Ghana is in financial crisis as at now does not prevent the president's wife to buy anything that she deemed she can afford to buy.
You see, my brother, look.
So, so there's a clear cut between the two things. So she's the wife of the president, and they are already rich. So if she decides to buy, irrespective of she being the vice president, she had her money already before she became the first lady. So you can't say because Ghana is in financial crisis, she can't decide to buy a bag worth $30,000. No, that's
doesn't.
I don't agree. That is a point
you don't agree.
You should take.
No, I think we should raise red flags on all expenses that come back to the state that do not benefit.
So my question, is that bag that she's buying from the state coffers? Do you have a proof, evidence that she's buying from the state coffers? If it's from the state coffers, yes, then we have every right to talk about that. But I know the woman is rich even before she became president.
Is our former president not rich? President Mahama?
She is.
She's not rich?
Yeah, the wife.
You see, these are some of the things that I think it doesn't move the nation forward, especially when it's coming from we the youth. You understand? Because if you agree with me that we are catering for both the president and the wife, then why do we have to say that we should condemn the president, wastage of our resources taking flights, which is amounting to less than $600,000 per trip? But we shouldn't talk about it.
This is why we can talk about the president's own and cannot talk about the wife's own.
But for me, I think we have to stand to dispute and condemn all wastage Because
No, no. Let me
No, no.
Let me tell you reasons why we can talk about the president's.
because we
or
don't not
we
need
can't talk
proof
about
to
the
tell.
wife's
You
own.
see,
Now,
we don't need proof to say that this is wastage. We don't need proof because at the NDC time, similar thing will happen. They were just lying. So you know, I'm NDC chairman, and
I understand.
Yes,
you. I
yes.
understand you perfectly well, but you shouldn't and you should never conflict what the president does to that of what the wife does.
Okay, then my question to you at the interview is that you recently heard what they said that President Mahama is enjoying his ex gratia. Do you know that issue?
I never heard of it, but if President Mahama is enjoying his ex gratia,
meanwhile he has not been giving his ex gratia.
I don't know about.
Yes, then that will tell you that if you
don't try to sway the topic.
I'm not swaying the topic. What I'm trying to put you on point is that
what you are talking about here is
what
you are talking about here is the president's wife spending $30,000 on a bag, and my question is that money coming from the government coffers? If the money is coming from the government coffers, we have every right to talk.
Is the flights, the flight fare what we are paying? Is this coming from the president's coffers?
The president, it's from the government coffers. So that we can talk about, but that of the wife we can't. We
can talk about. We should talk about.
On what basis, my friend?
On the basis that she's being catered by the states. So, and then why?
Okay, fine. She's being catered by the states. Yeah. That means the state pays her. Yes or no? The
state pays her. Yes.
So if the state pays her and she decides to use some of the monies that she has gotten to buy a bag for herself,
so the state should buy 30,000 bag for while somebody has not eaten at the village.
No, listen. You are
the state. But what we're saying.
Evans, let me tell you.
You're coming.
Let me tell you something. Let's say you work for me, okay, and I pay you at the end of the month.
You pay me everything.
No, wait. I pay you at the end of the
month.
No,
you see, there's a difference scenario from paying me at the month and paying me everything, because we pay for everything for the first lady and the president.
What? I pay you at the end of the month. I take care of your food. I take care of your dressing. Anything that's
good. You medicine dressing. Yeah, good.
And the fact that I do all those things for you, does that mean that if you feel like getting your new Nike Air Max or Jordan 1, you can't buy it with your money because I pay you at the end of the month?
No, you see, the scenario you are creating is conflicting. Why? Because you did mention that you buy my everything for me. And if you are also, I hope you bear with me that yes, we buy everything for the for the first lady. If I don't know if you know it, let me remind you. Some of the purchases the government official made outside there, they come back to take reimbursement. You understand? And this is, she's going to file her receipt to take the money back from the state. So if as a Ghanaian you want to sit here and tell me that she's rich and that despite she being rich, we still have to buy her $30,000 a bag. Then, my brother, I think what kind of generation are we? I mean,
and my question, you still don't get my question.
I get the question 100%.
So my question is, the fact that we are taking care of her, okay, does that mean that she can't buy anything for herself using her own money? And what proof do you have that after she's going to use the receipts whatsoever to come to the financial minister to claim the money?
That is how it is, my brother. That's how it is.
I think.
Even when, do you know that when they are going on this, we give them, some physical cash on them to make request interest. Understand?
So I think these things are constitutionally bound, right?
You see, that is the point I'm trying to make.
If they are constitutionally bound, we can't.
No, you see, I think you're also trying to disagree with me. The fact that there is an opportunity doesn't mean exploit it. Are you getting my point? So the same thing the husband is also doing. Yes, we have given you a flight. It's in good shape. It's working. And then you say you decided to give it out to our rent not less than $600,000 per flight.
That is what.
It's an exploitation
of the what I mean by misusing the government's money.
So it comes back to the same hole with the wife, because it's a constitutional mandate that we need to cater for them. So, and if they are at home, we need to do that.
I think with the wife's issue, you are not getting it.
You are not getting it, man.
I get you. I get what
because you just told me that yes.
I get what you are saying.
Yeah.
But mine is, are you saying that the fact that she's a president's wife, she can't decide to buy a bag worth 30,000 cedis with her own money? That is my question that I'm asking.
You
But
see,
I think if you keep on with this question, you're going to drag the whole conversation.
so it's better you go to another question
probably-
because
probably-
she will also not come and tell you that
Uh-huh.
this bag she's buying,
Mhm.
she's not taking the money from back from the state.
Probably yes.
You understand?
But
and then you just ask, like I said, constitutionally we have to take care of them. I mean, when they are out there, you understand.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the loopholes I think.
So since
She and the husband has been exploiting the state.
I can't talk about the wife, but I can talk about the husband.
It's the same. But if you admit with me or if you agree with me that we take care of both of them,
with
then
the husband, yes, I can agree with you on that. But on the wife, she's not the head of the state, so I can.
All right, I still maintain my position on that.
I can. You have the rights to
Yeah.
do anything that you want. Now, since we are talking about money, the government decided to clean the banking sector, the financial sector, and they spent a lot of monies on that, and about 420 banks were cleared. Do you think that activity, that step that was taken by the government was in the right direction? And has there been any positive results after that thing was done?
My brother, honestly,
My brother, talk to me.
it was a reckless decision. And
Why?
I will explain why.
Uh-huh.
You see, I think this is the first time I'm seeing on the radio, on TV, that the worst regime we have ever had in the history of Ghana and the Fourth Republic is Akufo-Addo Bawumia regime.
True that. That I agree with you. That I agree with you.
Because look, let me give you some screenshot about what they did, and sometimes I don't know the notion or the, how do I call it? They used to say we have the men, we have them. They don't have any men, I tell you.
That one.
Because look, my brother,
They don't even have the boys, forget.
you know why I'm worried I'm here today?
Yeah.
I was at the
Talk to me.
Bloomberg Financial Market Lab on Friday. You know, I work extensively on banking and the financial sector in Africa.
Yeah.
My paper concentrates on, I work on commercial banking in the whole Africa. So I have a couple of banks in Ghana that is captured in my data. And you know, I'm always monitoring them, understand? And I'm monitoring the ratios of the banks, specifically in Ghana, because that is it's my blood. So I'm always checking on them. But I tell you, the ratios are not good. If I mean the ratios, the fiscal space of the state now is choking the banks. Now, let's come back to the question you asked. It was a reckless decision to spend 25 billion Ghana cedis. It was at the Bloomberg. The finance minister said he spent over $5 billion to just collapse banks. The reason why I said this is a reckless decision is that empirical evidence shows that now regulation itself increases the level of bank risk taking. Now, you just spend 25 billion Ghana cedis to collapse banks without any prudent measures in the banking sector. Meanwhile, the banks that were insolvent, the banks that were struggling to survive, needed less than 25 billion, so less than 15 billion
To sustain.
to sustain. And I think some of the responsibilities of the government, especially the central government, the Bank of Ghana, they have been lazy. The government have been irresponsible.
What do you mean by irresponsible?
Because in the developed economies, the central government supports banks or even companies to survive. You understand? But what the government could offer is, okay, I want to spend 25 billion to collapse you and go and die.
Okay, but for the sake of people who don't know this thing we are talking about, on what grounds did the government decided to collapse these banks?
The grounds was that we got something called liquidity, we got something called insolvency. Insolvency is when, your current losses are exceeding your revenue or your profit, you understand? So in that sense, what the government could do is, okay, we look at a couple of factors that to make sure we sustain the banks. You understand? But the government said, okay, since a couple of banks are not solvent, their current losses are exceeding their revenue, it threatens their stability. But again, in finance, what the central government, the Central Bank of Ghana, I think they fail to do is that I use the he to represent the Bank of Ghana. He's the police. Police means you need to periodic monitor our banks, the banking sector. And I maintain my point of them being reckless in the sense that if you look at 2014, our financial sector contributing to the GDP growth is over 54%. So if a bank is insolvent, liquidity ratio, they cannot meet their target, bad loans, and you decide, okay, the best you can do is to collapse the entire bank with this huge capital.
So what do you think should have been the best measure that should have been taken if you were to be a member of the NPP government or the first gentleman of the state? What do you think should have been done if you had been in the shoes of the head of Bank of Ghana or the president's shoes or whoever that was in charge of that? What would you have done?
Immediately, what we could have done is that we need to first save the banks and save jobs.
How would you save the banks?
I don't have to spend 25 billion. I send. So the thing is, if to provide 25 billion to collapse the bank, that money should have been used to save the bank in the first place.
How?
Because, like I told you, the government spent 25 billion.
I get that point. Now, these banks are not doing well, so the government have to spend 25 billion to collapse those banks. So, what measures would you have taken as the person in charge to sustain those banks?
So the measures, like the first one is, I don't have to collapse them. That money that is stipulated or earmarked to collapse is to maintain them. You come back to review, because something asset quality, review of the banks. So what you can do is that after stopping them from collapsing, the government, you can take over with I'm forgetting the name. So what you can do is that you first of all categorize the banks. Why? Because they were not in the same shoes. You understand? For example, because Indian bank insolvency level will never be the same as God is good.
God is love.
God is love, whatever it is, you understand? There are a couple of them. So what you can do is that you can categorize them. But one thing that I think we should not forget is that the central bank, the Bank of Ghana, the police, I think they need to answer more questions. Why? Because you don't have to let the insolvency level of each bank to come closer to a red line. In finance, we have green, we have blue, we have red line. But volatility back testing is the responsibility of the central bank to police them and do this. So, first of all, if you save them, you come back to categorize their risk management levels. Then we can know these banks, the kind of measures we need to, because you cannot use the same silver bullet for all the banks because their risk level are not the same.
Yeah. But
so I'll come back to regulation. When you stop them from collapsing, you risk aggregate them, you do quality assess review, because some banks can be making profit but they are not solvent.
Yeah.
Why? Because when you go to the balance sheet of each bank, depending on what financial reporting system there is, either GAAP or IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard, there are a lot of items that do not appear on the same standard. So what you have to do is that after doing this, you have to categorize them, and then you see the way forward with asset quality. So I think back to one thing. That is my fault. And with my research, I discovered that, and I was even shocked. Diamond brother, we do not have deposit insurance scheme as a country, and I was shocked. The Eastern African are doing well in terms of the banking sector in Africa. Why Ghana? What about the West African? I discovered that we don't have deposit insurance. Deposit insurance is a scheme whereby every single depositor is being insured, so that in the case of economic downturn or defaultment of the bank, that is not where you're going to say, oh, Papa Kwasindum, workers have not been paid, the collapsed bank, depositors have not been paid. Suppose the insurance were there or was there, This should have come in to protect. Of course, in the empirical evidence shows that yes, it also comes with its own risk. However, you don't have to also overlook, or we should have deposit insurance. That's one major thing I'll put across after saving them. We need to have as a country, because the financial safety net. Why? It's important because empirical evidence shows that those who provide support to banks is not in shareholders or investors.
Who are they?
The ordinary depositor. Our mothers at the market who put 1 cedi every day, 5 cedi, 10 cedi. That is the survivor of the banks. So they need to be insured.
Okay, so quickly, let's touch on this one before we move on to our next question. Like, still clearing of the banks. You made mention of God is love. Yeah, and God is love. I stand to be corrected. To my knowledge, it's not a bank. It was more of a
savings and loans.
Something like that.
Yeah. I think
where you put about 200 CDs and you get like 300 CDs interest within a week or something. It was more of a Ponzi scheme thing.
Yeah.
So,
okay, sorry.
Don't you think it was in the right direction for the government to have done that?
No, let me correct this. I think I did not bring my list for the 420 savings, financial and non-financial, that came down. I think this 2017, 2018 cleanup, God is love was not included. So I think we should put them aside. So there are a couple of them that...
I just wanted to be clear. They are not bank, right?
Yes.
They are not bank?
Yeah, they are not bank. But we have non-banking sector. They are deposit takers. We also have them there in the system.
Let's keep that way. Now, fine, let's go on. Now, inflation-wise, in Ghana, comparing this current government to that of the previous government, inflation-wise, what do you have to say about that?
Thank you. I think, I missed something, if you may permit me to put it across. And one thing I think the government did, is a big mistake. I don't know, because the government quickly, one of their solution was to upward increase the minimum capital requirement for banks. And I think it was a dangerous move. For me, I personally, being an expert in finance, I think it was a dangerous move. Why? Because study shows that regulation affects risk-taking level of banks.
How?
Why? Because regulation of minimum capital requirement, activity restriction, like the government, the central bank being the police can say, okay, you cannot take more than that. A lot of activities can bring on board. Maybe don't take capital too much, maybe don't take deposit too much. They are all activity restriction. So one of the solutions from King Furiata and the team, the central bank, was to increase the minimum capital requirement, which was 120 million Ghana cedis, that's the minimum for banks, to 400 million. And I think I disagree with them, because it's over 300% increment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what current research papers have found that when you are forcing investors or shareholders to cough more capital into the bank, it was in a way increasing the risk level.
Yeah.
Why? Because you are a shareholder. Unexpectedly, the central government comes and say, oh, look, you need to bring more money to sustain your bank. But bear in mind, every investor is not just investing. They're investing for dividend.
Exactly.
So, we got something in finance called utility loss. The additional capital you are requesting from them, they will make sure that they are being compensated for that loss, because he didn't plan to put more money, but the law forced him to do that. So in that sense, when they are being forced to cough up more capital, now they are sustained. They will tell the management of the bank to increase risk. How? By desperate investment to get the money they didn't plan to invest. So in that sense, naturally, the objective of the motive of the central bank to increase capital requirement was to reduce risk, but indirectly, it's rather increasing risk, because depositors which cough more capital into their banks to sustain will definitely demand their utility loss at the end of the day.
Sure.
So back to inflation comparison. You see, as we speak.
And that's how I'd like to give you like a minute on that because.
Okay, all right. So as we speak, it stands at 33.9%, and I think you bear with me that this has never happened in the history of Ghana before. NEC level, we took a single ticket. 2011, the best economic growth. 2011, we sustained a single ticket of 9%. As it stands, it's 33.9%. So if we go to fuel, diesel is 117%. And we have never experienced this in the history of Ghana.
But to the best of my knowledge, I think the regulation of fuel prices is from the world market, right?
That is what I disagree some way with commentators or analysts who like to, conjecture or what is happening in the financial market. Yes, I must admit that external shocks also have influence on our domestic markets, understand? But however, in the finance, you always look at a couple of components that plays in the economy. So you can always just look at what is happening in the international market, but what's also happening at home, depending on your expenditure levels. So like you said, if you are spending all your resources on taking flight, definitely when there is a shock on the market, you'll be, hardly hit than somebody who is always trying to minimize costs. And then if you look at, since the government comes to power, you agree with me or you realize that the government has more been interested in expenditure than, trying to invest capital investment.
Exactly.
So that is what I would like to say. And then, petrol is 81%. And then we go to transport is about 45%. And you see, if you permit me to recommend something.
Recommending something for this current government?
I don't know. I'm not too sure if they have listening ears.
Are you sure this government listens? Does it listen?
Not at all. But however, it shouldn't stop us from also trying to put something across.
Okay.
You understand?
maybe you do that maybe in your last.
Okay, yes, please go ahead, sir.
Sure. Now, the economy as a whole, Ghana's current economy. Now you just made mention of inflation hitting 33%, which has never happened before in the history of Ghana. And economical wise, the economy of the current state, how do you say it? Because now there has been introduction of so many levies.
E-levy, shall I remind you?
So many levies, so many taxes. That's it's really putting pressure on the ordinary Ghanaian, I must say. It's really putting pressure on the ordinary Ghanaian. And now the CD, €1 is equal to 10 euros.
That is when you are selling. So
yes.
if you want to buy it, it's more than that. So basically you should prepare like 12.
Yeah. Yes, which is not so good for
and then if I may come in, it is the worst after Sri Lanka, so the whole world.
Yeah. So like the state of the economy, just say something about it. Just 30 seconds in.
Okay, thank you, sir. You see, the problem we have as a country is that, you see, the people are not trying to put much pressure on the government. And yes, it is extremely bad. It's extremely bad in the economic situation where people find ourselves. Because, you see, this is a government that had a lot of capital inflows.
Yeah, I agree to that.
So sometimes if I see communicators of government on the radio, I wonder if they are Ghanaians. I have to be honest with you because, no, despite politics, you see, what is true is true, understand?
Yeah.
Because even when if I decide to give you a screenshot, even the IMF alone, the money IMF gave from 2020 up to date is over 2.65 billion.
Aside COVID.
That is, I mean, without what the central government is mandated to support the state, there is a cap of I think 10%, and I think central government has released 10 billion. The government has secretly went ahead to print new currency of 20 billion.
Yeah, talking about printing of currencies. Why is there the need of printing another currency? Because, for example, the 5 CD notes that we have, we had the one with the big 6 on it, and later we had a new currency of that same 5 cedis with only one person on it, and there was an introduction of 100 cedis notes and 200 cedis notes. Like, what does that then have to do with the economy?
Okay, good. You know, in economy,
Is it a way of stabilizing the economy or a way of maybe cheating?
it's one of the lazy man's approach.
What do you mean by lazy man's approach?
You see, economy works on two main factors: demand and supply. And each aspect of demand and supply has their own or have their own component that the policies of the government, the programs, need to driving towards that. Understand? But if you have a government that is so lazy, a government that has come to power for 6 years and have never implemented any homegrown policies like NDC did.
What policies did NDC do?
Thank you. Sir. You see, during the Doomsday crisis, sorry.
You are bringing Dimso right here.
Yeah, because I need to let people understand that yes, we solved the Doomsday.
Go ahead. I'm just kidding. Do mine.
Yes,
Go ahead.
because something ESLA, energy sector levy. What was the idea we brought this on board? We brought this on board that now the demand for power had increased according to our population. And then let me put this across that. Historically, the government that has never done any better or added any improvement to Ghana infrastructure, Ghana's energy sector is the NPP government. We brought in energy levy sector, energy sector levy, and this was giving the government over, for instance, over $30 million every month.
But was it able to resolve the Doomsday problem?
Yeah, I'm coming. Yes. No, I think were you not in the country,
bro? No.
No, you see,
I think the issue of Doomsday ceased when NPP came into power.
When did it cease? That is what you see. Tell me and let me put you something.
When was the NPP's first tenure of office?
2017.
Yeah, I guess so.
Good. So if you see 2017, what did they do? Answer me.
I don't know, but that
good. So that is what I'm trying to let you understand, that we solved the Doomsday crisis because government comes to power in less than 3 months. Do not do so because it comes with investment, and basically your first year is making appointment. So if anybody claims that they solved them, so it's a total false and lies.
But they came in within their first year.
No, let
me land. They came within their first year and they were able to introduce free education.
No, you see, so let's take it step by step.
If you're going on that tangent by saying no government will be able to solve them so within their first year, they were able to do free education within their first year. So
free SHS
couldn't they do that?
You see, free SHS is incomparable to energy crisis.
How? No, it's incomparable, I agree. But with what you are saying, that no government will be able to solve that Doomsday crisis within their first year.
Yeah, and let me explain.
And I'm saying that within their first year, they were able to implement free education. So on what grounds are you saying they couldn't have solved that if they were able to implement free education?
Because
the
component of free SHS is not the same as energy sector crisis.
How about introduction of NAPCO?
My brother, please. You see,
we're having a conversation.
I understand you, but
I want you to be open so that the viewers
can
understand what
NAPCO is one of the bogus policies we have ever had as a country. Let me be frank. It's the bogus. No.
Why would you call it bogus?
My brother.
Talk to me, bro.
Do you know that we are even importing cassava? NAPCO food and planting and all those, the same thing. And this is the time that food prices, you see, imported food is 34.4%. According to the Bank of Ghana data. So isn't it a bogus policy? The year which we have a whole budget allocation for food planting.
So don't you think if the NAPCO was implemented,
it was implemented.
Fine. Then that means the people in charge to ensure that the workers' work are not doing their work well.
No, it's not that. You see, we are even diverting. Let me finish what you asked me, because you see, it was a smoke screen policy.
Okay.
To benefit the party. Grassroots people.
Yes.
It doesn't have any efficiency in terms of productivity.
What do you mean by the grassroots people? Like people who are only members of the NDC NPP government?
That is it. I need to be playing with you.
Oh, but with NAPCO, I know. Like most of my mates that I completed school with, they were doing NAPCO. And
So if you see,
there are no political.
You see, let me put this on record. If we decide to skip this issue,
Mm-hmm.
NDC solve the doomsday crisis, because if you remember, the vice president himself said that we have produced excess, power. So if a government that produces power, excess power, then why did not solve the doomsday crisis? If we just last, didn't you hear their noise maker Abronya DC saying that NDC provided excess power?
I've not heard about that. So
Then please, please.
I can't talk about something I've not heard.
Yeah,
so.
perfect.
It might be true, but I have
yeah,
not heard.
but I want to put it on record that
energy
crisis. Even we imported car power from Turkey. So
speaking of energy.
So let me give you some of the things we brought on board as a country, as a regime.
Mm-hmm.
The energy sector levy was giving us $300 million every month. Every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we started trying to bring on board this policy, they stood against it, and finally it prevailed. Yeah. And it was supposed to have gone down as at 2018. Okay. They are still benefiting from it. Okay. We brought on board sinking funds. These are homegrown policies that you, institute that it will sustain the economy in terms of financial, the external shocks. Okay. So you being, I don't know, if suppose we have their boys here, I would ask them. They should just mention one homegrown policy, sinking fund, stabilization fund, bringing on board $250 million annually. So I'm talking about over $1 billion annually.
Yeah,
so these are the policies that a government must put across on board, not NAPCO. NAPCO that does not benefit. In terms of productivity, in terms of efficiency.
I get.
You get my point.
Yeah, I get your point.
So now, yeah.
And I think we have exhausted our time. But we are definitely going to have part 2 of this interview. Yeah. And I'll be glad we continue, because there are lots of questions I would like to ask you. About, do you think Ghana needs a third force? And you being the chairman of NDC in France, what are your roles as the chairman in France and other stuff? So I'll hold on to these questions for our next segment, and I hope when I call on to you, you will answer me.
All right, sir. So
thank you so much.
Thank you too for having me.
Being here on Personality Profile.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time, and this conversation has really been thoughtful. It has really been educative, and I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me, and I hope to meet you again. So thank you.
Sure. So viewers, this is where we draw the curtain on this interview. We are definitely going to bring you part 2 of this interview. It has been marvelously, awesomely, awesome. Yeah. So till we meet again, stay safe and have a nice weekend. Yeah.